Hello everyone, you're watching Business Africa. My name is Asha Sampath and welcome to our new edition dedicated to the continent's business and economic news. Like every fortnight, you can win $150 in our Business Africa game. More details later, but first, today's top stories. Ghana's textile sector relies on tradition to ensure its survival in the face of the inflow of imported goods.
I decided to start the textile business. But it came to a time the Ghanaian print, it was expensive. So people couldn't afford it.
Reducing greenhouse gas emissions while decreasing traffic jams. Kigali bets on electric bikes. Gura Ride is a project which consists in reducing the number of people waiting during a long time for buses and which are quite expensive for some. No more water chores, a reality within reach thanks to the European Investment Bank's commitment to improving infrastructure.
It really was hard work getting water. Most women had to wait until 2 o'clock in the morning. At that time, there's just a few drops of water.
Ghana receives 160 tons of textile waste every day from the West. The country, which has a rich history in textile manufacturing, is now fighting on the two fronts of imports of foreign fabrics and second-hand clothes. The country has thus chosen to bet on tradition and the Made in Ghana label. In 2004, the government even had the idea of establishing a Casual Friday Wear initiative to encourage the production and purchase of locally made clothes and to promote Ghanaian textiles and its fashion industry. Our journalists John Awotwi and George Ibo-Saki want to meet these exceptional tailors, a story of resilience and resistance of a sewing sector that is still very much alive. This Friday Wear initiative brought a boost in business for local dressmakers and tailors as the wearing of wax print fabrics, which was widely deemed as out of place in formal settings, became a more universally accepted style of clothing, bringing a higher value to the production and use of these garments. A move that was intended to revive the local textiles industry, which employed some 3,000 people, a significant fall from some 30,000 in the 70s. But with an increase in demand of the locally produced clothes, following the Friday Wear initiative, local production struggled to meet the supply. This led to a rise in the price of the local fabrics and opened up an avenue for the infiltration of the cheaper imported fabrics or counterfeited fabrics. Sarah Agri was introduced to the textile trade as a child by her grandmother. She currently sells both locally produced textiles and foreign counterfeited fabrics.
I decided to start the textile business, but it came to a time the Ghanaian print, it was expensive, so people couldn't afford it. So I made up my mind to join the high target, that is the foreign ones. And that one too is cheaper. So people started buying that one. And as for the GTP and printers like that soft, when somebody is going to marriage ceremony or funeral, then they buy the GTP because that is a traditional cloth.
GTP, ATL and Printex are actually the name of 3 of the 4 major garment factories that survived the decline of the sector in Ghana in the early 2000s. By extension, they gave their name to locally manufactured fabrics used for ceremonial or customary activities. Wooden, however, is of Francophone origin and has become accepted for contemporary use. These days, African print garments are worn daily in many variations in both formal and informal settings. The dressmakers sometimes cannot keep up with the orders, especially during the periods leading up to festive occasions. Some patrons also have to travel long distances to get their dresses made. because of their individual taste and styles. Philomena Appiah regularly has to travel out of town to get her dresses made for her.
I was looking for a reliable person to sew my clothes, but I couldn't get one until my sister introduced someone for me at Salt Pond to go there and sew my dress. So when I go there, I see the woman too is very serious to sew the dress for me. That's why I just traveled from Cape Coast to Salt Pond to get a person to sew my dress.
Artisanal tailors like Emmanuel Young Colhams, a third-generation tailor and IT student, are all thankful to the family business they can depend on.
My dad took over him, and I've also taken over my dad. One thing that I've learned from my granddad is that whenever he sews dresses for someone, he makes it look unique in a way that he looks at your personality, your stature, and he sews the dress to fit you perfectly.
Ebenezer Ajay Mansa took over his father's once sought-after tailoring shop that specialized in hand-sewn suits, which was on the brink of collapse and has struggled to keep it afloat. But although he produces some fine garments, businesses like his face the threat of being pushed out of operation by yet another obstacle: cheaper, imported second-hand clothing from China, the US and UK has flooded the Ghanaian market, suffocating the local industry.
This shop is my father's shop. He's the one who taught me this work. What I learned from my father, I'm just continuing. At first, we got some pastors, lawyers, big men from the ministries, all the time bring their work here, suit here, so that we sew for them. And now, things are not like first.
But Professor Asma sees the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, the AfCFTA, as another opportunity to reverse the decline in the clothing and textile industry. The agreement provides a bigger market for our locally produced goods, and he encourages entrepreneurs to get themselves prepared by undergoing skills training and apprenticeship programs.
High time we move away from the job of I'm going to school to work in the bank and to work in the ministries and so on. This sector is a big one. And now that the African Free Trade Area is coming on board, I believe it gives us a huge opportunity now, not only to target the local market, but to target the rest of the African continent. And this is where I see the potential of this industry.
With the estimated steady rise in imports of cheaper, inferior clothes and second-hand clothes into the country from $115 million in 2002 to $250 million in 2019, the trend in the declining fortunes of Ghana's local textile and fashion industry is unlikely to change, reducing the local industry to an artisanal scale in a country that needs to make major interventions in getting the masses of its youth in gainful employment.
A dozen of new cobalt and lithium mines within 4 years. This is what the Democratic Republic of the Congo is planning. The metals sought to power the electric vehicle revolution are in great international demand. Congolese authorities have authorized the acceleration of exploration in the southeast of the country. The region could hold a large reserve of lithium. But meanwhile, the African Union is very concerned about the deterioration of the relationship between Kigali and Kinshasa. Governments accuse each other of supporting rebel troops active in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. The airline Rwandair, already in bad financial shape, was banned from flying in the DRC. And border trade is also very affected as the DRC has just entered the common trade area of the East Africa Community. We remain in the region in Kigali, exactly, where the issue of reducing greenhouse gas emissions is more than ever a national priority. But how do you actually manage to tackle this global issue? Kigali is trying out alternatives to solve two problems at once: pollution and traffic jams. The capital of Rwanda has since last year a new means of transport: self-service electric bikes. Take a look.
Kigali, the capital of Rwanda, is a city in continuous transformation. Its metamorphosis has generated a constant stream of new arrivals. The rapid growth of the population has today become a considerable challenge when it comes to traffic, with constant gridlocks in the city. Buses, motorbikes and taxis are the usual means of transport for most city dwellers. Cycling has not really caught on among the Kigalians. Now though, GuraRide, a local startup, has been offering an alternative way of getting around.
GuraRide is a project which consists in reducing the number of people waiting during a long time for buses, and which are quite expensive for some.
The Public Transport Initiative for Self-Service Electric Bicycles has received the green light from the Kigali city authorities. Created in 2017, GuraRide's ambition is to make the bicycle a new and affordable means of transportation for everyone.
We chose Rwanda because the infrastructure of the country's cities is very favorable for bicycle transports. Plus, the townspeople walk around a lot, so it was a sign that they would like to do their shopping by bike rather than on foot.
City bicycles, a successful concept from the West, are now being imported to the land of 1,000 hills. Since its launch, 12 parking points, like this one, have been set up in crossroads in the capital. First-time users must first download the GuraRide app to benefit from 2 months of free rides, and many already love the concept. I've heard of these bikes. I gave it a try today and liked it. Not only its agility, but also the fact that I can use it to run errands without a problem. It's a significant improvement. Each bike comes with an electronic lock that can only be opened if you have a valid subscription on the dedicated mobile app. After completing their journey, the user will park the bicycle at the station nearest their destination, ready for the next users to take their turn.
Our colleagues in vests explain how to proceed, starting with downloading the app needed to enjoy 2 free months and how to create an account, where are the bike lanes and traffic areas.
Since Rwanda has plenty of mountains and hills and most of the population lives at mid-altitude, GuraRide has tested several prototype bikes to decide which 2 models were best suited to the terrain.
We have 2 types of bikes, one with chain, the other electric. As you pedal, the battery recharges. This is in our agenda, our contribution to protect the environment from pollution. So GuraRide bikes are eco-friendly.
The bikes are decorated in green, yellow and blue, the national colours of Rwanda. Some youngsters are already regular cyclists. Simbi Adelaide, a resident of the capital, recognises the difference, however, between a normal bike and that of GuraRide.
The difference is that the bicycle known to all requires a lot of force to pedal. But with the one from GuraRide, I'm comfortable. Because of its elegance on my journey, everyone contemplates it.
Behind this startup is Umuhoza Pamela Ella, who heads a group of young people who manage the bicycles from a distance. They can track customer journeys in real time to prevent damage or theft. GuraRide bikes are imported as separate pieces and are put together at the startup's assembly and repair shop. Donat is one of the technicians in charge of putting all the parts together, ready for a test ride. He and his colleague can assemble a bike in about 25 minutes and are also trained in maintenance. This is where we do assembly and maintenance. We've been trained and we're ready to intervene at any time. Since not everybody cycles in the same way, I think a flat tyre was our worst nightmare. But our tyres are puncture-proof. Given the quality of our bikes, regular maintenance is only needed every 3 weeks. Gururide is working with authorities from Kigali and other districts of Rwanda to place parking stations in several neighborhoods. The price will vary between 100 and 200 Rwandan francs per trip. Gururide has so far invested in the manufacture of over 100 bicycles. Today, 80 are in use in the capital, and more will soon circulate across the country as well.
You're watching Business Africa. Welcome back to the second part of our show. Has Africa succeeded its negotiations with Russia? Invited by Russian President Vladimir Putin, the current president of the African Union, Macky Sall, went to the Russian seaside resort of Sochi. The aim was to find solutions to the blockade on grain and fertilizer imports as a result of the war in Ukraine. Meanwhile, Egypt has been delivered a shipment of 55,000 tons of Indian wheat. The two countries had been in talks since March for a grain import deal. Kenya is planning to build a 25,000-ton liquefied natural gas storage depot in Mombasa. The aim is to speed up gas loading onto delivery trucks to reduce the number of tankers parked in the port. Thus, Kenya aims to reduce the costs paid by the final consumer by 30% and compete with the near monopoly of the Tanzanian port of Dar es Salaam. Nigeria has waived contracting an external loan of $950 million. This was announced by its finance minister Zainab Ahmed. The Treasury bond issue would have completed the total envelope of more than 6 billion Nigerian loans on the international capital markets in 2021. The decision reflects both the current market situation, which is less favorable to borrowers, and the strategy of the Nigerian government to reduce its exposure to rising interest rates. Access to water, sanitation or electricity, these are still daily priorities for many Africans, and there's still a lot to do. Over the years, many international partners have supported and funded a series of projects that are gradually changing the situation. We have the example with the European Investment Bank, one of those financial institutions working in West Africa to encourage infrastructure development. Take a look.
In the Diop household, water flows with a turn of the tap, much to the relief of Mrs. Diop and the entire family. The endless trips to fetch water are a thing of the past.
It really was hard work getting water. Most women had to wait until 2 o'clock in the morning. At that time, there's just a few drops of water.
Further east, in Senegal's hinterland, the situation was once no better than in Thiès. Now, thanks to PEPAM, the drinking water and sewerage program for the millennium, local inhabitants have improved access to drinking water.
We had to get water delivered. A barrel would cost around $1.50. Some households needed 3 to 4 barrels a day. That's at least $3.50 to pay for the water that you need each day. But now, thank God, it is easier.
1,000 miles away in Ouagadougou, the capital of landlocked Burkina Faso in Western Africa, it was the same problem. For years, the outlying neighborhoods were not connected to the drinking water network. For Sana Kabore, owner of a small brickwork supplying local building sites, the first problem he had to solve each day was, where do I get water? A problem that is now solved thanks to ONIA, the National Water and Sanitation Board. ONIA has provided water to 32,000 poorer households in the outskirts. Good news for the Kasalia service promoter.
We didn't have the water we needed to work. We had to get it delivered from all over the place by taxi motorbikes at $1.30 the barrel. Now, ONEA has set up standpipes, and we have the water we need to work properly. I use at least 10 barrels of water a day. At home, I have a water tap, and my wife no longer has to get up at 2 or 3 in the morning to fetch water.
One of the objectives of the Millennium Development Goals was to halve the percentage of the world's population that had no access to drinking water. With the MDG deadline in sight, considerable progress has been made.
Le Sénégal a atteint largement, d'ailleurs, les objectifs du
Senegal is well on target for the Millennium Development Goals, with access to 100% of households in Dakar and 91% in the hinterland.
11% dans les régions de l'intérieur.
Thanks to a low-interest loan from the European Investment Bank, it was possible to provide inhabitants with an extra 40,000 cubic meters of water. A larger water tower was built with sufficient storage capacity to supply areas that had water shortages.
Nous avons pu réaliser 721 kilomètres.
We installed a record 721 kilometers of piping for the drinking water supply network.
Ce qui a permis également
We were then able to provide 48,000 subsidized connections, benefiting more than 500,000 people.
Plus de 500,000 personnes.
In Ouagadougou, the battle for drinking water is concentrated on Ziga, a project designed to provide the capital's inhabitants with the precious resource. The 3 million-strong metropolis is constantly growing, outrunning the country's ability to supply drinking water access. ONIA received 18 million euros from the EIB to finance its various investments.
The partnership has been very productive and has enabled us to improve and increase access to drinking water and to maintain the service with water treatment plants, water towers and distribution networks. It's an exemplary partnership and we would like to see it stepped up.
But despite the steady flow of investments, the battle for water is not yet won. With droughts come shortages. A vast water treatment plant is being built to provide improved drinking water access. In Ouagadougou, as in Dakar, many challenges lie ahead.
We have been investing in the region for the past 50 years, and we will continue to be a part of the European drive to meet the Sustainable Development Goals after 2015.
In total, the EIB has disbursed 18 billion euros to finance over 1,300 projects, with access to drinking water a main priority. Great steps have been taken, but the community of backers will need to pursue their efforts for several more years if the MDG goal of providing drinking water for all is to be attained. With the necessary innovative measures, the private sector could lend its weight.
It's now time to reward our loyal viewers of Business Africa. It's up to you to answer to the following questions. If you're drawn among those who have given the correct answers, you will win $150. This is game number 578. So listen carefully to the 2 questions that follow and good luck. First question. How many people were employed by the Ghanaian textile industry in the 70s? 10,000, 20,000 or 30,000? Second question. New Gura Ride users should subscribe to a list, download the Gura Ride app, purchase a new bike. You know the answers. You can participate now by going to our website, africaonair.com, in the replay section. Answer the questions, fill out your form, and good luck. And of course, don't forget to include your contact details, name, address, telephone, email, and the number of the game you are entering with the answers, of course. This game, for example, is game number 578. Check out the terms and conditions in the replay section. On our news website, africaonair.com, the winner will receive $150 as our winner this week. Congratulations, you gave the correct answers to our game number 577. Here are the details. First question, since when is the pangolin trade prohibited in Gabon? The answer, in 2016. Second question, what does the Working Ladies Company use to deliver to its customers? The answer, tricycles. Well, that's it. Business Africa is over for today. I'll see you next week, same time, same channel for Initiative Africa. Denis Buhusu, Director General of the African Intellectual Property Organization, the AIPO, will be our guest. In the meantime, you can of course watch the show again on our news website, africaonair.com, as well as on all our social media channels. Feel free to share, like and comment using the hashtag Business Africa. Take care of yourselves and see you next week. Bye-bye.